This video here continues on the last concept, but it's absolute value inequalities instead of equalities. So there's a little bit of difference to this. So we'll get right to it. X plus 5 is less than 8. So we're saying that this distance has to be less than 8, because remember, absolute value is the distance from 0, and it has to be less than 8. Okay, so this is number 1. So we're still going to do the same, but we're going to graph these too. So we didn't. The graphs in the last ones were kind of boring because it was just a dot here and a dot there. So we make the t, and we go x plus 5 is less than 8, right? And then x plus 5 is greater than 8. But that's not entirely true, because when you flip that inequality around, we have to have that whole plus and minus thing. So we have to have the negative version of it for the second equation. So we have to have the positive and the negative version of it. Okay. Oh, which flips the inequality around. Sorry, I think I said that backwards. It's going to be 8 and negative 8. When you do the negative 8, you have to flip the inequality around. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense. All right. So now we're going to subtract the 5 over. We get x is less than 3. And then we have x, subtract the 5 over, x is greater than negative 13. Now the question is this an and or an or situation? Well, you're bigger than negative 13, and then you're less than 3. So you're doing those things at the same time, which is possible. So that means it's an and situation, because you're greater than negative 13 and you're less than 3. So you're trapped in between the two numbers. So here's negative 13, there's 0, and then 3 would just be a little bit over here, right? So I didn't count off 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, because that's just a lot of extra work. So open circle, and then we are less than the 3, and at the same time we are greater than negative 13. So this is and then we can write it this way: negative 13 is less than x, which is less than 3. So we can write that answer. We can also write it this way here with the picture. So there's the equation, or actually it's the inequality. It's not an equation. There's the inequality. There's the answer written out in terms of numbers, and then there's the graph of it. All right, number 2. You try this one. 6x minus 2, absolute value, is less than 18. All right, so you try this one. All right, so we have to make the two equations, right? So we got the 6x minus 2 is less than 18, and then 6x minus 2, and then negative 18, right? So you got the 18 and negative 18. Flip the inequality around. Did you do that? Okay, now we solve each equation separately. Add 2, 6x is less than 20, correct? Yes, 20. Then over here, or then here, we divide by 6. So we get x is less than, and unfortunately that doesn't work out perfectly, does it? Yeah, that's not going to work out perfectly. So it goes in there 3 times with 2 left over. So that would be 3.3 repeating. You guys like repeating decimals. So it's 3.3 repeating, or 3 and 2/6, which is 3 1/3. Okay, right here we're going to do the same steps, but we're going to get a different result because we have that negative 18 there. 6x is greater than negative 16. Divide by the negative 6, and we get x is greater than, let's see, that would be not 3 times, but 2 times with 4 left over, so it'd be negative 2.6 repeating. Yep, 2.6 repeating. So we're greater than this, but less than that. So now I can make my number line here. So negative 2.6 repeating, and then there's the 0, and then the 3.3 repeating is over here, and open circle, and we're shading in between, right? Because I'm less than this guy, and I'm greater than that one, so that means I'm shading in between. So you can write this x less than 3.3 repeating, and it's greater at the same time 2.6 repeating. All right, and you can use fractions for that answer if you want to. Okay, let's do one more here. No, not one more. We're going to do a few more. Let's do one where we have to do some extra steps to it. This would be number 3. So we get 4, and then absolute value, 2x plus 3 minus 7 is less than or equal to 9. All right, so here we're going to do some steps in a row to clean it up. Then we're going to switch it up into 2 equations. So let me make sure that I wrote this down the way I wanted it to. Yes, that's the way I wanted to write it down. Okay, so before splitting it up into 2 equations, I'm actually going to take care of the 7 and take care of the 4 in the front, because I don't want to distribute that through there. So I'm going to add 7 to each side, and we get 4, absolute value of 2x plus 3 is less than or equal to 16. Then I'm going to divide by 4, and you get 2x plus 3 inside the absolute value is less than or equal to 4. So this makes it look like the other equations. Now we're going to break it up into 2 equations. So we get 2x plus 3 is less than or equal to 4. 2x plus 3 is greater than or equal to negative 4. Remember, it's positive 4 and negative 4. Flip the inequality around. Okay, subtract 3. And we get 2x is less than or equal to 1. X is less than or equal to 1/2. So by dividing by 2. Then here, we're going to subtract the 3 over. Get 2x is greater than or equal to negative 7. And then we're going to divide by the 2. And we get x is greater than or equal to negative 3 1/2. All right, so it's 3 1/2. 3 1/2 and 1/2. Yep, that's correct. Then we make the number line. So we get 0 there. I'm going to put a 1/2 here. Closed circle this time, right? Because it's equal. And then negative 3 1/2 is down here somewhere. Closed circle because it's equal. And it's greater than this, less than this. That means I'm shading in between. All right. So that's what's working with that one. Okay, now here's one that that you can try. And number 4. Number 4 is going to be 3 times, we got 5x minus 1, absolute value plus 9, less than or equal to 23. All right. So this one works out pretty much like the last one. You try this one and see what you come up with. All right, let's resume here and see if you got the right answer. So I'm going to subtract the 9 over, and we get 3 absolute value of 5x minus 1. Absolute value is less than or equal to 14. 14. All right, divide by 3. So we get 5x minus 1. Absolute value is less than or equal to 14 over 3. Okay, now I'm going to make the 2 equations out of this. The fractions are not the funnest part here, are they? I'm going to go over here, split it up this way. So we get 5x minus 1 is less than or equal to 14 thirds. And 5x minus 1 is greater than or equal to negative 14 thirds. Okay, I'm going to add 1 over. Okay, that's 3 thirds. If you add that over, it would be 17 thirds. So 5x is less than or equal to 17 thirds. And then add 3 thirds over here. So 5x is greater than or equal to negative 17 thirds. All right. Oh, no. My bad. we're adding it over. So we're adding it over. So it's going to be 11 thirds. Yeah, I'm adding 3/3 plus 3/3. So it makes it 11 thirds. Okay. So it's 11 thirds. Now I'm going to divide by 5, divide by 5, divide by 5, divide by 5. So x is less than or equal to 17/15. And divide by 5, x is greater than or equal to negative 11/15. So that one was kind of messy with all the fractions. And then you can make the graph. So here's negative 11/15. And then there's 0, and then over here would be 17/15. And close circle, shade in between. All right, now what did all of these have in common? These are all ands. That was an and. It was trapped between two things. This was an and. Okay, the others were ands. Now what we're going to do is we're going to do some that are ors. And the way that you can tell ors is because the inequality is flipped the other direction. So here's number 5. And it's going to be x plus 3 is greater than 9. X plus 3 is greater than 9. So you can even kind of say greater, it makes an or. All right. So this one here, you do it the same way, but it just the sign is flipped. It's going to make it an or instead of an and. All right. So we're going to do x plus 3 is greater than 9. X plus 3 is less than negative 9. Put the negative there. Flip the inequality around. Subtract 3 over, x is greater than 6. Subtract it over, x is less than negative 12. So we got 6 and negative 12. But you can't be less than negative 12 and greater than 6 at the same time. You can't do that. So that's why it's an or situation. There's negative 12, there's 0, and there's 6. So if you're bigger than 6, you're this way. You're less than 12, you're this way. So you got to do open circle, shade above, shade below. And there it is. You're greater than the 6, you're less than the negative 12, you're not equal to, so you open circle on each of those. So this is an or situation. All right, the algebra was really easy, you just had to subtract 3 on each side. Okay, number 6. You try this one. Absolute value of x minus 5 is bigger than or equal to 8. So try that and see what you come up with. All right, and here's the solution. We're going to go ahead and make two equations. X minus 5 is greater than or equal to 8. And then you make the other equation over here. X minus 5 is less than or equal to negative 8. So you got your 8 and your negative 8. Okay, we're going to add the 5 over, so x is greater than or equal to 13. We're going to add the 5 over. X is less than or equal to negative 3. So this, again, this is an or. You can't be less than negative 3 and greater than 13 at the same time, right? So it's one place or the other. So we're going to make negative 3 here. We're going to be less than negative 3. And then we'll put a 0 like there, and then we'll go over 13 spaces, close circle, and bigger than that. So we're bigger than the 13, we're less than the negative 3. Okay, last question for this video. You try this one. It's going to be a multi-step one. See what you come up with for the multi-step equation. Let me check this one out. Uh-oh. What was that? Let's do one that has more steps to it. Let's do this one here to finish it off. 3, absolute value 2x minus 1, absolute value greater than or equal to 21. So here, divide the 3 over first, okay? Then split it up. Then you have to do a little bit more solving, okay, than just regular ones. Alright, and here is the solution. Divide by 3 first. 2x minus 1 greater than or equal to 7. Okay, we're going to make the two equations. So we get 2x minus 1 is greater than or equal to 7. 2x minus 1 is less than or equal to negative 7. All right. Then we are going to add the 1 over. We get 2x is greater than or equal to 4. 8. 8. Divide by 2. Got ahead of myself, didn't I? 4. Over here, adding 1 to each side. So we get 2x is less than or equal to negative 6. Divide by 2. X is less than or equal to negative 3. And again, you can't be less than negative 3 and bigger than 4 at the same time. That's impossible. So that's why it's an OR situation. There's negative 3, there's 0, there's 4. Kind of space it out proportionally. There's 4. We go bigger than 4, close circle. There's 3, less than 3, open circle. All right, and that takes care of this this lesson, all these lessons on equations and inequalities and absolute value equations and inequalities.